since that home run.
Broken bat, little dribbler to short, 2 up, 2 down. And now he'll deal with Edwin Encarnacion. What's going on now? Toby Basner and Donaldson are in some kind of discussion. Did he throw him out of the game? He threw him out. Toby Basner throws him out of the game for comments. Donaldson walking back after grounding out. He said, I was talking to somebody else, but evidently he said something, and Basner thought it.
And it's on the outside corner, and Davis caught looking for the second time today. 5 strikeouts for Davies. And that is 50 strikeouts for David Wright in his first 120 at bat.
He's getting struck out, Gary, on a lot of pitches on the outside corner. That's borderline right there. Too close to take.
So 1 out and nobody on now. Michael Conforto and Adrian Johnson, the home plate umpire, appears to have thrown out Kevin Long, the Mets hitting coach. And Kevin's going to head toward the tunnel. So Long defending David Wright on a pitch that appeared to be a little outside, and he took the heat for him.
A little frustration starting to boil over here for the Tigers. Doug Eddings expanding the zone a little bit. Nick Castellanos for the 2nd pitch in a row. Thinks he gets jobbed a little bit. Brad Ausmus is tossed from the game. He's there he goes. He gets him. Brad's going to come out and give his piece. He doesn't believe he can see the plate. And you can tell Brad very animated right there. A lot of frustration. And takes his jersey off and nicely and neatly covers the plate. So no use of having the white part.
That is without question as animated as we have seen Brad Ausmus, let alone the whole jersey thing there. But he said his piece to Doug Eddings, who had ejected him on a couple of pitches that appeared to be inside.
1-2 pitch. That's a called strike 3 on a pitch that was nowhere near the zone. Escobar is chapped, and he should be. That pitch was down, and the helmet toss will cost him some money. Dale Scott has been fairly consistent tonight, but that pitch was not a strike.
No, that's not even close to the strike zone. And you can see this. Look at the Fox tracks right here. How much that misses the strike zone. That's almost on the dirt. And in.
That is strike 3. Yeah, you're not going to like it if you're the hitter on that call, and yet you could see some of the ball possibly catches the bottom of the strike zone. Tough one. Strikeout number 10 for Mariners pitching. Vincent gives up the baseball to Scott Service. And somebody just got thrown out of the game. Here's A.J. Hinch coming out. And he is really giving it to Ben May. He is so hot right now. 2-1 Seattle, back in the morning.
Tulowitzki strikes out. Mike Winters calls him out, and once again Winters is probably going to hear it from the dugout.
And that'll take the mask off, and that will send John Gibbons. He's 2 for 2. Getting thrown out.
John Gibbons was ejected in the game in Arlington in the 3rd inning for arguing balls and strikes. Mike Winters is the crew chief for this umpiring crew. He's been around a long time, and Gibbons and Winters have been in disagreement over the strike zone all night long.
Yeah, it isn't just this inning. It's a couple of innings. It's been like this, and Gibby's had his ear in between innings.
In that game yesterday in Arlington, there were 8 total ejections in the ball game. Leeper and Gibbons were ejected in the 3rd inning in separate incidents. But you can see all the players are up there, and they appreciate their manager standing up for them.
Yeah, sticking up for them. You mentioned the 8 guys who were kicked out of yesterday's game.
Grandstand. Wow. 0-2 pitch. Heisey can't believe it. It's a guy who hardly ever says anything to an umpire. Mercedes-Benz will track it.
Well, Rene Rivera is pulling these high pitches down, and DJ Rayburn's buying it. So he's called the low strike, he's called the high strike. And as a hitter, it's got to be one or the other, because you can't cover the low part of the zone and the high part of the zone. That'll frustrate you. It's like calling pitches off the plate on both sides, too. DJ Rayburn saying enough. I hear you. Chris Heisey's still chirping down the dugout, and you can see why. Doesn't want to hear anymore. He just threw somebody out of the game.
Who got tossed? Rick Shue just tipped his cap and waved to the umpire, and the Nats.
Here comes the 2-2 to Brock Holt. And that's in there for strike 3. And he's been thrown out of the ball game. Brock Holt is trying to indicate to Joe West he wasn't yelling at him. He was angry at himself, but West throws him right out of the ball game.
I don't know what Brock said, but it got him a very quick ejection. And
now there's an argument going on with Dale Scott and Tim Leeper. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure what happened. But Leeper may have been thrown out of this game.
Normally, when you see first base coaches get thrown out, it has something to do with a move. I mean, he's hot. Leeper is really hot right now with the crew chief, Dale Scott. He saw something that maybe Ramos maybe balked or quick pitch. He was really upset on the quick pitch the other night when Donaldson, the one that we were just talking about. Now he's going to carry on his conversation with the home plate umpire.
Nana Sonia, the home plate umpire. And your point on Friday night was the Donaldson at bat. Martin Perez balked and he quick pitched. And Tim Leeper says all you got to do is interpret the rule book. And if you do that correctly, that would have been called a balk. And the umpires missed it. And so he saw the same type of thing with Donaldson again. And I'm sure that's what he's arguing.
And Walters goes down swinging on the curb, or did he get a piece? Let's see. Home plate umpire Carlos Torres apparently said he made contact, or that. Well, let's see.
Well, what Plawecki is saying is that he was running out of the box. Carlos Torres, one of our younger umpires. Walters had given up and was leaving the box because he knows he had missed the baseball. They should really check with the second base umpire, see if he saw anything.
Well, Jerry Davis is the crew chief. He's the second base umpire, and he's coming into the discussion now.
There was no. I don't think there was a foul tip there. That ball bounced almost in front of the plate.
This is not a challengeable call.
It's not a challengeable call, but you can ask the umpire if he, the crew chief, if he saw anything. Here's the breaking ball. Not even touched, not even close. And Terry, from the crowd reaction, must have been thrown out of this game.
Well, he should get thrown out of the game. That was a horrible call.
That's right. It might be the biggest call of the game.
I mean, on replay, it didn't look like Walters came within a foot of touching that ball.
I'm 200 feet away. I could tell he didn't touch that baseball. I mean, come on. So, bad play. Bad call.
The rookie umpire throws out the veteran manager after the rookie umpire made a terrible call.
We saw Jared Hughes limbering up. Rizzo's home run means he's reached base safely now in 26 straight games and has given his Cubs a 3-2 lead in this fourth inning. Somebody got tossed. Somebody just got ejected, I believe.
I'm guessing Ray Searage.
The 30-second clock was up. Bill Welke. This is the first time we've ever seen this. If that's why, if indeed he was ejected, first time I've ever seen that.
I can't imagine he's being ejected because of the 30-second clock as much as maybe arguing that 1-2 pitch we talked about with Chris Bryant. And he's not talking to Jeff Locke. He's talking to the home plate umpire, Brian Knight.
Jeff Bannister and Laz Diaz.
He's saying he called timeout?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I have to wait to find out what happened there.
Doug Brocail going to go out and have a chat with Tollison, and the rest of the infield will join in the meeting.
Well, on the play, the runner went from first to third. The hitter, Avila, is still on first, so there's still a double play in order. It was an off-speed pitch from Tollison. Avila was able to get the head of the bat out and pull it toward the right field line, but Mazzara got over to cut it off anyway. But sitting with a man on third base and less than 2 outs. Critical at bat right here.
Forward, he had that injury, and you knew sooner or later this had a chance to happen. Alfredo Simon drills the pitcher who drilled him in the 4th inning, and Simon is immediately thrown out of the game by the home plate umpire, James Hoy. Players from the Brewers side coming out in front of their dugout. No one coming out of the Reds dugout.
Well, Brian Price arguing right now that why is it that we get 3 Reds hit and 1 Brewer and he gets thrown out of the game. Now, there was no warning issued by the umpire in any one of the previous hit batters. But you don't have to have a warning in order to throw a pitcher out if the umpire feels like the pitcher intentionally hit the batter. That's all he needs to see or he needs to read in order to eject the pitcher.
Did he just kick him out? He threw behind Utley. Did they just kick Syndergaard out?
That's one. That's unbelievable.
Adam Hamari is the home plate umpire. He didn't even hit him.
I think a warning could be issued, but you can't toss a guy for that.
And now Collins is out. He couldn't care less, but Collins going to get his money's worth. And Collins, in my opinion, is right here.
And you know what you're doing, which no one thinks about as
a terrific win for the Raptors to come back and get back into the series 2-1. And boy, they shot lights out last night.
Lights out, play great defense and bury the Cavs. Phil Hughes, first pitch. This one zeroing in. I don't know how he got out of the way of that one.
Think there's a little intent behind that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Donaldson homered his first time up, and that one's behind him. And Donaldson said, "What's going on here?
Let's go."
You don't even have to warn him. You can throw him out of the ball game if you think it was intentional. And Donaldson walking away, he can't afford to be ejected for a second consecutive day. Then Hughes threw one right at his hip, and the next one's behind him. You can eject the pitcher without a warning being in place if you think it's intentional. And if that wasn't intentional, I've never seen one.
The last 2, haven't you been paying attention? What's happened the last couple of days and after the home run by Donaldson? And now Gibby's going to explain that to the home plate umpire.
Well, and Joe West is the veteran. He's an old school guy, and Gibby will go back a long way. He knows what was up with that. Donaldson got ejected for hollering at the Twins bench yesterday. Then he hits a home run, stares into the bench today. Then he makes a couple of great plays. And now Gibby gets thrown out.
Gibby's just trying to protect his players. Yesterday they were laughing and having a good time, Joe West and John Gibbons, and now this time he's got his finger in his chest.
Joe West and John Gibbons, they had quite an exchange when Gibbons came back on Friday night at home plate, and now they're getting into it. But to his credit, Josh Donaldson did exactly what he had to do. He walked away from the umpire. He couldn't afford to get thrown.
Set up well off the inside corner. Again, I'm still thinking I'm bouncing a pitch in the dirt, especially 0-2, or even a fastball down and away.
Hector's yelling at John Tumpane. That pitch was in off the plate. And he's just been tossed. Hector's just been ejected. Hector waved off Carlos, is what it looked like. Tumpane kind of took exception to it. And so Santiago's been ejected here. The pitch in question wasn't a strike. It was in off the plate. Ososha will get his money's worth. Hector was yelling in after the 2-0 pitch to Wieters that missed in. Tumpane said something back to him.
And he hit him.
And
he's going to toss him
for Ollendorf.
Both benches have been warned prior. That is the 6th hit batsman in the game. Brian Price will come out for a discussion. But Ross Ollendorf has been tossed out of this game.
And by rule, Brian Price will be gone too. You know, that's the first subsequent hit by pitch that we've seen tonight. What have we got? 7 of them in the ball game, 6 in the ball game tonight. That's the first one we've seen that was done with a fastball that really came in off the plate. And Brian Price has a point right here. Ollendorf's in a 1-run ball game. He doesn't have anything to prove to David Freese by pitching inside like this. But I think once the call has been made, the call has been made. Brian can argue until the sun comes up, and it's not going to make any difference at this point. Not even in that far inside. It certainly sounded loud.
That hurts.
In Pittsburgh, first time they ever put a tarpaulin on the field. Uh-oh.
And that absolutely was. Well, that absolutely was.
Here comes Bill Miller in from first base, and the benches are clearing. Here we go. Park got one up and in.
Well, what Jose wants to do is drop the bat. That's the first thing, because that's something that can get you suspended.
Daryl Boston over there with him. Abreu is not pleased. Frazier's in there. There's Greg Sparks, Scott Carroll on the outskirts.
A hitter absolutely knows when he's going to get hit. And although May looks away,
you see the reaction of the Sox dugout immediately, and now they're going to be separated. So Park got one up and in the top of this inning. He was hit by a pitch. Abreu gets plugged in the side. This is game 1 of a 3-game series.
it's also two teams that have 2 series each against one another, both home and away, remaining after this series. So we probably haven't seen the last of this.
The bullpens are being sent back to their respective areas.
And remember, you don't have to issue a warning if in the mind of the umpires. Now he's issuing a warning now,
But if in the mind of an umpire, he thinks that the pitcher has thrown at a hitter, he can eject him without any warnings being issued.
Reading Robin's lips, he said, you heard him say it. So there was something said. And watch the reaction by May. That is not shock. And remember, Jose in all of this is not a heavy English speaker. So the discussion coming from the umpire, don't know exactly how it's working. And Robin Ventura has been thrown out of this ball game.
Well, I think Robin has a pretty good case to make, because if any of the umpires on the field don't believe that that was a purpose pitch by Trevor May, I would be surprised.
Robin Ventura is fighting for his guys right now. The central one being Jose Abreu, who got hit in the ribs the next half inning after Park got one up and in. You think there's a lot of evidence suggesting intent there?
I would think so.
And Danny's going to be called down on a high slider at the top of the zone, 1 out.
And he has words with home plate umpire Brian Knight as he departs. And he's been thrown out of the game. Somebody has. Whether it's Espinosa or someone in the dugout. Dusty Baker's coming out now.
They're holding Bryce back.
Well, Bryce Harper was yelling. Oh, boy, I think Bryce Harper got thrown out from the dugout. He was hot from earlier in the game. So Espinosa was walking away when Brian Knight turned toward the Nationals dugout, threw someone out.
I mean, when you're pointing at guys and looking for somebody in the dugout, you just don't usually see that. That's what we used to call having rabbit ears.
Led back out onto the field by George Springer. Don't know if the fans were giving him a problem, and now he's into it with the umpire at first base. Laz Diaz, actually the second base umpire over there. Gomez is being restrained by Springer. He's just furious about something. Now Trey Hillman will come out. Somebody, well, he flipped some equipment away and he's leaving. We didn't see what happened, Ash.
Yeah, but what we can see is that he's made himself unavailable for the ball game at this point. This is him coming out of the dugout. And I don't know, Bronny, you got an idea there? Why come after first base umpire in this scenario?
He did. He walked right up to him. Jeff Nelson, the crew chief.
I don't know. That's not good composure there at all.
And now Trey Hillman has to come up with another player. He has Jake Marisnick warming up and going into center field for Gomez. And Hillman talking with Jeff Nelson now. Jeff Nelson, the crew chief, explaining whatever it was that caused him to throw Carlos Gomez out of the game.
You have to really hand it to George getting in there and trying to prevent things from happening, going any further than they did.
Yes. So now it's Jake Marisnick in center field, batting in Gomez.